What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Thank you so much for stopping back into the Four Corner Society. I am excited to bring you guys another tier list video related to the Geomancer Divinity Original Sin Enhanced Edition spell tier list. As a reminder, this is for a generic Geomancer mage. This is not for your niche builds. This is for majority of the time which spell is going to be the best one for you to take with the amount of spell slots that you can actually use while you're playing your playthrough. If you can like and subscribe this video, that would be greatly appreciated. And also follow us on Kick at the Four Corner Society to catch us live whenever we are streaming, so you can chat with us and see what games we are playing. The reason why I'm doing this, just to reiterate that for any new viewers who have subscribed to the channel and old subscribers, you guys know why I'm doing this. But the main reason is because I'm super excited for Baldur's Gate 3, and I'm going to be doing a lot of that. So we're going to be doing tier list for Divinity Original Sin 1, Divinity Original Sin 2, and then Baldur's Gate 3, which is all created by Larian Studios. So I'm super excited for their much anticipated game that's coming out. They create the best turn-based RPG games that I would consider them to be, top tier, S tier as far as turn-based RPG games are concerned. So we're going to go ahead and get right into it, guys, with the Geomancer spell list, starting off with none other than the Avatar of Poison skill. I'll read it off to you guys very briefly. I have it pulled up on my second monitor, so when I look over there, I'm reading it, and then I'll, talk to you about it and the reasons why. Make a target, so this is the spell. Make a target immune to being poisoned. Melee attackers may get poisoned. I actually find this spell being in the C tier, you actually do come across quite a few poison related enemies while you're playing through your playthrough. At the moment, I'm currently level 15, and I would say about 40 to 50% of my encounters have to deal with poison, especially early on in the game. You deal with poison quite a lot with all of your undead and Cyceel. So I would put this in the C tier. Later on in the game, it becomes kind of unneeded, essentially. It's not necessarily the greatest spell, but early on, it helps you get through some stuff, helps you take some poison off. And then getting to poison some of your attackers as well is a good feat. So I'll put it in the C tier just for the simple fact that you get to remove poison from one of your party members. Next up on the spell tier list, we have the Bless skill. The Bless skill. Bless a target, removes curse. Bless is extremely useful. I would actually put this in the A tier because it allows, when you bless a target, it removes curse, which you don't really get cursed that often. But the main thing is it gives you a boost to your chance to hit. So if you're running parties with archers, if you're running parties with melee fighters or rogues, bumping up that chance to hit is extremely important. It lets you ensure that damage gets done, potentially taking somebody out of the fight, out of the encounter, and thus definitely recommend getting this spell on your tier list. It is super, super, super useful in that aspect. Next up, we have the Boulder Bash. Boulder Bash synergizes very well with Pyrokinetic. So if you have a Geomancer and a Pyrokinetic spell, this it drops basically a rock on the ground, creates an oil surface, and if there's already fire on there, it will light that oil surface on fire, or you can use it to connect fire that's already been done on the ground to ensure that the enemies are all standing underneath fire or standing on top of fire. It doesn't do a ton of damage. It does offer a slow, which is kind of useful, but in the nutshell, I would just give this spell a B tier. It has a unique thing that I don't think is addressed quite often, but the line of sight, it's not directly at your opponent, so there could be obstacles that block it normally, but the fact that it comes straight down is actually a benefit. The reason why it's a benefit is because you're not having to worry about the line of sight. You can just drop it down on the enemy. So if there's a tree in the way, it doesn't matter. Boom. There you go. You just drop the rock on top of their head. But a boulder comes crashing from the sky. It does XY earth damage to anything within a 1 meter range from impact, creating an oil surface where it lands. So you can also, if they're clumped up, you can do more than just single target damage. It has some AoE damage as well. So I'd put this spell in the B tier. Definitely with the novice skills, you definitely want to run it for sure. But that's where it is for the rest of the skills as well. Next up, we have the Fortify spell. Give yourself or another target magical armor. I would give this, when you're running a generic composition, you probably have 1 to 2, maybe even 3 people who are going to get attacked quite often. I would actually put this in the B tier as well. It's not necessarily game breaking, but what it does is it gives your characters who are up close in the thick of things with close combat, close quarter combat, it gives them extra armor or resistances, allowing them to take more punishment, and that is pretty useful, early on in the game through all aspects of the game, actually. I remember I did a recent encounter with this giant troll, not to try to do any spoilers, but he would cast Fortify on himself and Earth Absorption Shield, and this dude was super hard to kill because of the Fortify mainly. The Earth Absorption, I didn't really have anybody dealing straight up Earth damage all the time. So Fortify is definitely good at making your tanky characters even more tankier. So if you have combining that with another, tank, definitely recommend getting this as well. Next up, we have the Midnight Oil. Midnight Oil is kind of their pseudo CC. It allows people to be slowed. You can just drop it on one of their main characters, or maybe an archer's far away and they have to run to get in range. This is something that you can essentially take one turn for them to get into range, then they can't do an action, and then they have to wait till next turn to actually deal any type of damage. It also helps you spread fire if you're combining your Geomancer with a pyrokinetic mage as well. In general, though, it's not super amazing. I would put it in the C tier personally. I don't. It's nice, but it's not like. I think spells that do damage are way better than spells that are not dealing damage. The faster you kill people, the less likely they're going to be able to CC you or kill any of your people. So this is, and other things like if they have battering ram, they can just charge right through your oil, and there's not really much that you can do. Or they can tornado your oil and just get rid of it. Things like that I find not super useful with this spell. Um, but it is nice in those niche scenarios where you have those archers and you can plop the midnight oil on them, and then they have to take a full turn getting in range rather than getting in range and then attacking. So there is that aspect on it. Next up, we have the last of the novice skills, which is the Summon Spider right here. Summon Spider is easily S tier. I love Summon Spider. I've used it literally from the very beginning of the campaign all the way till where I'm at now. It is so useful. The spider does a ton of damage. It has the ability to apply weakness on a target, and it just is absolutely stunning with its health. It's super tanky. Definitely recommend getting Summon Spider on your list. So that is all of the novice spells, guys, for the Geomancer Mage as of right now. There's only six. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, there's only six, so you have to run all six of these. So definitely your most important is Spider, Bless, Fortify, and Boulder Bash. Next up, this is where you kind of have to choose what you want to do. This is your adept skills. There are a total of 6 adept skills. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 6 adept skills, and you can only have 4 of them on your Geomancer Mage. So this really depends what party you're going with, but I'll give you my advice on the majority of the time which one works the best. Starting off first, we're going to go with Blessed Earth. Blessed Earth is bless, but you apply it to everyone within range on your party. So this is easily S tier. The reason being, if you're running say if you only have Geomancer Mage on your party, you have a Rogue, you have an Archer, you have a Tank. Or vice versa, or maybe you have 2 melee characters on your party. Or maybe you have 2 archers. They can all enter their power stance, which lowers their chance to hit, but then you use Blessed Earth, and it increases their chance to hit, so they never suffer the penalty of losing their chance to hit, and they gain the damage from it as well. So having Blessed Earth is extremely useful majority of the time. There are certain builds, like the current build I'm doing is all mages. And there's no reason for me to run Blessed Earth because it doesn't give them a boost to chance to hit because they all just use the Staff of Power, the Staff of the Magi ability anyway. We don't want to get close. We want to stay far away. But for majority of the time, you're running archers, you're running rogues, you're running tanks. This is super useful. Just buffs their chance to hit, meaning more damage is to be done. Enemies can't block or dodge or miss your attacks. Extremely useful spell right here. Next up, we have the Earth Absorption Shield. I personally, if you notice in all of my guides that I've done for spell tier lists and everything. I don't like these. I don't like them at all. I don't find any use for them. I would rather save action points than actually use a spell if I have some action points left over. So I'm going to put it in the D tier. It enchants self or ally with an Earth Shield. An Earth Shield absorbs Earth damage until it breaks. So I don't really see a use of it. I would not recommend running and taking one of your adept slots for this specific spell. Next up, we have the Magical Poison Dart. Magical Poison Dart is disgusting. It does so much damage. Like if you want to get a person out of the game, you run Magical Poison Dart. It is like one of their main damaging abilities. Highly just run it. It does so much damage. Create a poisonous magical dart that does XY poison damage and also can set the enemy, can give them poison status. So anytime you're using this specific spell against a human or someone who has the ability to get poisoned, you'll take at least a third of their health bar done. And that's a lot. So definitely run magical poison dart. Next up, Petrifying Touch. Petrifying Touch is interesting to me because I'm all about CC. CCing in combat is extremely important. The more CC you can apply to the enemy, the less they can actually attack you. That's essentially combat in Divinity. Petrifying Touch, in my opinion, is not great because the range of it is way smaller than the other touches that the other mages have. Like the range is super, super, super tiny. It turn a nearby target to stone, dealing XY earth damage, and it doesn't have a 100% chance to stun either, or to petrify. With that being said, it is nice in those situations where you have to get away from a melee attacker. You can use this, petrify them, run away, things like that. I would probably put this in C tier, if I'm being honest. I don't like this spell. It doesn't like give me the yes, we're super powerful Geomancer mage, everybody's stunned, Medusa it all out. It's just not super fun for me. Next up, we have the Summon Wolf. The Summon Wolf, so it is a good spell, and it does bleeding damage. It says summon a level 8 wolf within 5-meter radius for 24 seconds. In my opinion, because you have the spider, and the spider just is so groundbreakingly gross, I put the Summon Wolf in D tier. I don't find myself ever using Summon Wolf, like at all. So I'd keep it there. That's kind of where it belongs. If you have the spider, you're going to run the spider. If you have the wolf and no spider, you're going to buy the spider spell book and then purchase the spider and summon it and get rid of the wolf. That's essentially what it comes down to it. Last up, we have Tectonic Spray right here. Tectonic Spray. So let's go ahead. Deal XY earth damage to all targets in a 45-degree cone that's 7 meters long. Creates an oil surface, has a chance to petrify, and that chance is 80%. This spell, a lot of the times when you're playing in combat, you face a lot of ranged enemies. You face a lot of people who are not going to get up and close to you. And if they do get up and close to you, you're going to be getting into situations where it's like friendly fire and things like that. So the fact that you can't like pick the zone, it's like a cone and the cone is not really that long either. I just put it in B tier. It's nice because it has the chance to stun or to petrify, and it does a decent amount of damage when it gets to that point. And you can combine it with things like the pyrokinetic, with the oil surface, and maybe slowing the enemy melee attackers down, things like that. But it's not necessarily super amazing. But out of all the other adept skills, I would probably take it over some of the other ones. So we'll go into like what I would say your ideal Geomancer pick should be at the end of the video. And that's the tier, that's the everything for adept. So we're going to go into the master tier list now. So master in the Geomancer, I think, is extremely powerful. We're going to start off with Deadly Spores. Deadly Spores, this spell right here, launch multiple poisonous spores that each deal XY poison damage each to anything 3 meters from impact. This is an extremely useful spell. I would put it in the A tier, but there's a reason why I'm not putting it in the A or in the S tier. I'm sorry. I would put it in the S tier, but there is a reason I am not putting it in the S tier because of the next spell coming up. This spell combines very nicely with pyrokinetic as well. It can create explosions, dealing more damage. It's just so extremely high damage spell, and it will set people poisoned as well. So you get that more of that kind of dot damage over time. If you don't know what dot is, it's useful in that aspect. But the reason why I'm not even including it in the S tier is because of the next spell, which is the Summon Earth Elemental right here. Summon a level 8 Earth Elemental in a 15-meter radius for 18 seconds. This Earth Elemental has the Deadly Spore on its list, on its spell slots. So you summon this thing, you get an extra fighter in combat. You also gain the Deadly Spores from the Earth Elemental, which is like a no-brainer. Of course, you're going to want to run another person in combat who can take damage, who can deal damage, and give you access to essentially 3 master skills compared to just 2 master skills. So Earth Elemental, S tier, always run Earth Elemental. Next up, we have the Poison Slug. So if there's a theme with Geomancer, they have a lot of summons. And with the 2 summons, the Poison Slug, it does a lot of damage. If it had Taunt, it would be S tier. But it doesn't have Taunt. It has like an ooze ball that deals poison damage, which you already have a lot of that stuff from the other characters that you get, or the other summons that you get. So because of that, it's D tier. It summoned a level 8 Poison Slug in a 15-meter radius for 30 seconds. If it had Taunt, I would put it higher on this list, but you typically will never run this spell. Then last up, we have the Earthquake ability. I'm actually going to put Earthquake in the A tier. It has the 300% chance to set knocked down status for 1 turn. So as long as people are inside the sphere, they get knocked down, which is great. That's a great feature. But it doesn't do a ton of damage for a master skill, which for me, when I'm doing my master skills, I want them to be super high damage dealing spells. I want to be able to feel like, man, I am destroying this game. I have hit max power, and that's not what Earthquake feels like to me. It creates a bunch of oil surfaces on the ground, so you can combine that with fire and stuff, or the pyrokinetic, and just kind of cover the battlefield and burning flames and burn the flesh off your enemies. But for the most part, I just put it in A tier. Out of the other 2 master spells, I would run Earthquake for sure. So that is the tier list right here. I'll give you a second to just see it, and then I'm going to reset it and pick which ones that I actually would run for myself. So with the Novice, you're going to run all of your Novice spells because you only have 6 of them. So once you hit level 5 and whatever spell casting ability class that you're going for, you get 6 Novice, 4 Adept, and 2 Masters. So I'm picking all of the Novice spells right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you have all of those spells you have to pick up. So just pick them up. Why not? Next up, you have the Adept spells. So this is where most of your decisions come from. You're going to take Magical Poison Dart, does a ton of damage. You're going to take Blessed Earth. You're going to take Tectonic Spray. And then last up, you have Petrify, Earth Absorption Shield, or Summon Wolf. You're going to take Petrify. Petrify has the majority of the time you're going to be able to use Petrify to stun somebody than the other 2 abilities as well. And then going into your master spells, you're going to use Earth Elemental because it gives you Deadly Spores, and you're going to use Earthquake. So this would be your essential best spell slots for your Geomancer Mage majority of the time. You will not feel bad running these spells. Geomancer Mage, in my opinion, is extremely powerful. It's one of my most powerful mages. I would say it's maybe the 2nd most powerful. It's super versatile. It does a lot of damage with the spells that you have, and it's really great to take a lot of the aggro from your party member and put it onto your summons because you don't care if they die. So that would be the tier list video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. like and subscribe to the video as well if you want to see more of our content, and follow us on at Kick or follow at Kick. Follow us on Kick at the Four Corner Society. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day, and Ben is out. Peace.